Thank you so much for staying with us. It's Kakaki, the African Voice, and at this time we will be looking at the national dailies and the front page stories with our usual as well, already seated with us right here in the studio. Dr. Yobosa Ugeren. I got it today, right?
Congratulations.
All right, he's joining us today to look at the papers and also analyze the many stories that are making the front pages this morning. And of course, Alhaji Simon Reef Musa is also joining us. So thank you so much for your time with us and welcome. I hope you accept that title today.
Alhaji Simon.
All right. It's a pleasure to have you, gentlemen.
All right, let's look at what the papers have for us this morning. And we start with the Daily Sun this morning. The Daily Sun leads with the story, Kaduna Church Abduction. Community releases names of 117 missing worshippers. And the writer says, false police, government officials, no kidnap claims.
All right, we'll move on to the Vanguard newspaper next. Is that the Vanguard? Okay, that's the Vanguard there. Kaduna, names of 177 abducted worshippers revealed. That's how this paper is leading this morning. The story is on page 5 of the paper. It's got some riders. 177 abducted, 11 escaped. That's according to CSWN Group, as they revealed. Then police situation report confirms abduction. An attack occurred 1 week after 2.6 million naira ransom was paid for release of some villagers. This is according to sources. You can check out details on the paper.
Okay, now let's go to the next paper we have for you this morning. That's the Standard Times. And it leads to the story, insecurity. NAF targets precision strikes with incoming M346 fighter jets. That's the top story. And the details flows from page 1 onto page 2 of the paper.
And to the blueprint. Could you take that?
Yes, the blueprint is the next paper we have, and its lead story says, DIMDEX 2026, Nigeria's indigenous DICON D7G defense platform debuts in Doha. The writers say country asserting defense autonomy, says General Murakinyo. It's an opportunity to expand capabilities. General Main Nasara, the story flows from page 1 onto page 8 of the blueprint this morning.
All right, let's look at the Authority newspaper now. The Authority, I have the Guardian here. Let me see the Authority newspaper. If you have that, please take that.
Well, I have the Guardian too, so let's take the Guardian.
All right. So gaps in e-transmission, vote buying, sanctions, spark calls for reform. That's how the Guardian is leading this morning. Gaps in e-transmission, vote buying, sanctions, spark calls for reform. You have details of that on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper.
And that's actually talking about the Electoral Act. The paper is talking about the Electoral Act in that headline there. Okay, let's move on to the Daily Monitor. 2027, ADC will bleed after Atiku secures party ticket. Baba Ahmed. 2027, ADC will bleed after Atiku secures party's ticket. That's credited to Baba Ahmed, and the writer says Obi's political style does not align with competitive party primaries.
Okay, let's move on to the next paper, which is the Daily Monitor. Is that?
That's the one I just took.
That's the one you just took. Okay, we'll go to the Nigerian pilot. The Nigerian pilot says drug abuse, NDLEA raises alarm. Drug abuse, NDLEA raises alarm. Some riders says 77,792 suspects, including 128 drug barons, were arrested in 5 days, and that the agency also secured 14,225 convictions within the period under review. That's the Nigerian pilot lead this morning.
Okay, let's go now to the Daily Asset, which is the next paper we have. The Daily Asset leads with the story, at Davos, FG unveils new economic focus, pledges less borrowing. And the writers say reforms target long-term fiscal stability, credited to Edun, that's Wale Edun, the finance minister. And IMF projects stronger economy. That's the second rider there. You'll find details of the story on page 2 of the paper.
All right, we'll move on to other papers now. The Authority newspaper, have you got that yet?
I'm trying to get it.
Okay, we don't seem to have an e-copy of that paper just yet. Maybe we'll move to other papers until we're able. Okay, we have it now. Article to ADC members, those attacking me, Obi are aiding APC. That's the Authority newspaper lead. Those attacking me, Obi are aiding APC. If you want to know how, you can check out the Authority newspaper this morning.
All right, let's move on to the next paper. I believe that is the business, the Whistler, actually. The Whistler is the next paper we are going to. And the top story there is CBN recapitalization push triggers pullback in banks' credit. CBN recapitalization push triggers pullback in banks' credit. You'll find the story on page 9, and the rider there says, credit to bank customers drops to a 14-month low on 53 trillion naira.
Okay, away from the Whistler, let's check out this Nigeria newspaper. It goes to tax issues. It says, tax, give vulnerable persons time to adjust before enforcement. Catholic bishops demand, on a rider there, urge transparency, accountability, rising hunger, threats to global economic stability, UN warns. So all of this story woven together on page 4 and page 12 of this Nigeria.
Okay, now let's go to the Business NG, which is the last paper we have for you this morning. Between 2016 and 2025, Nigerians struggle amid tenfold food price hike. That is the top story on the front page of that paper. You also have another headline there, right? That thin strip just below the masthead. Manufacturers endorse tax reforms, urge faster harmonization across states. The story is on page 2. So the Business NG is the last paper that we have for you this morning. Let's now go to take the issues to our reviewers. And Yobos, I'm going to start. Oh, let me start with Simon. You are from Kaduna State, right? Yeah. Good. So let's look at the story on the front page of the Daily Sun and the Vanguard. The Kaduna kidnap update that's there. The Daily Sun says 117 people missing. The Vanguard says 177 people missing. But the bottom line is the back and forth over whether people were missing or not, whether people had been kidnapped or not, over the course of the last several days, now seems to have been settled in one particular way, that people have actually been kidnapped. So what do you think? It's not a fresh story, but the critical issue is that last night, the Nigeria police, through the first PRO, released a press statement saying that, yes, we agree that people were kidnapped.
Well, I think as at now, we have passed the stage of arguing, was there a kidnap, was there no kidnap? Because when the thing happened on Sunday, because the abduction took place in a church, and there was conflicting reports. Well, the police, the state commissioner said no, that there was no kidnapping, and the community insisted no, there was kidnapping. So with the full list of the kidnapped person now published in some national dailies, it's very, very clear it happened. But again, all this back and forth thing had to do with introducing politics in tackling insecurity. Now, in the last 8 years of the El-Rufai administration, it was an everyday thing. Every week, we had several kidnapping. But Ubasani came in, as he's been trying his best. So he moved Kaduna State from the headquarters of kidnapping in Nigeria to at least a place you can say, hey, you can heave a sigh of relief. He brought along people that had been alienated from governance. Now, I listened to someone said the government had not done well by not coming out straight to say this is it. He even tried to compare it that way it was in the last 8 years of El-Rufai. Every now and then, government do come out to tell you, okay, this is where certain things will happen. It gives kind to give the people intelligence, which I believe is very, very funny. But I think, whether you like it or not, a kidnap happened, and it was expected. Both government and the police should come out all straight and not deny it. But I'm happy that the police and the state are now aware that it happened. So what do we do next? Why do we allow politicians or hangers on to continue to rabble together and they say, no, there was not? So I think for now it's for the communities affected. How do you rescue these 117 that were kidnapped? Of course, I felt very, very bad when I was told that the chairman of the local government had gone there before and said that the people should deny. If they deny, they will go after and rescue their loved ones. That is not fair. If people have been kidnapped, government should tell the world what actually happened and then save itself from embarrassment. Because what really happened was not supposed to happen. It happened. What government should have done, oh, we are doing something about it to rescue it. But this thing will, like I always say here, as far as the drumbeat of 2027 is coming closer, you will get to hear more of kidnapping. You will get to hear all of this because insecurity is embedded in the race for political victory. That's what I see. And as long as we do not identify the sponsors of these attacks, we will continue to have them. And as at now, we've yet to come out to say, hey, these are the guys that are sponsoring this attack. The government may know them. Even the communities know where these bandits are. But they are not allowed to say, hey, let's save ourselves. So it's time for government to review on how to tackle insecurity. Kidnappings will continue for a long time to come, if nothing is done.
I worry, Dr. Yobosa, my worry really is how this huge number of people would have been kidnapped and there was a denial. I mean, and, within the period of this denial, you can imagine what would have been going on. I was discussing earlier with Kunle, I'm like, okay, if it took days for even officials to admit that there was a kidnap, then the kidnappers would have gone, maybe they would have even left the shores of Nigeria with the people they kidnapped, because the time they would have used to pursue and rescue them, there were denials as to whether it happened or not. What does this tell about our fight against insecurity and this politicization, which as that Simon talked about, who is politicizing what exactly?
Yeah, I read the press statement issued yesterday, very late yesterday, by the Nigerian police force, trying to explain why they could not confirm the story, whether they were kidnapping or not. But I read the statement from the beginning to the end. I discovered that they were trying to manage the messy situations that they find themselves. The truth of the matter is that there is no way such kidnapping will take place in the community without the knowledge of the DSS and the Nigerian police. There's no way. But I'm sure that initially the police confirmed, but suddenly the Commissioner of Police now denying and said, look, there was no kidnapping. But I think it has to do with politics. People were trying to play politics with it. And maybe because they didn't want to create that panic situations in Kaduna, according to the statement issued yesterday by the police, that they needed to ascertain the number of people that were kidnapped and how it happened before they could come out openly to say, yes, there was kidnapping. These are the number of people that were kidnapped. Like I said, it was unfortunate situations that we find ourselves. And I repeat, there's no way, especially the DSS, would not know that such thing happened. Like Reef said, you don't play politics with the life of human being. And especially when a huge number of people are involved. You don't play politics with it. So that at every point in time when incident happened, the government or the security agencies must be opened to Nigerians I mean, kidnapping people is not new to Nigerians. We've seen that over the years.
So have we become inured to it?
So we are not. We are not. But
because
it will be...
you raise a critical issue here, which brings me back to the issue of the trust deficit between the people and the government.
Yes.
People said our relations, our friends, our associates, members of our church have been kidnapped. Yes. And government, through the police, comes out to say, no, nobody was kidnapped. It's not true.
Yes.
Yet the people keep insisting, the church leaders keep insisting that people were kidnapped.
Yeah.
So how does that help?
If you even read that police statement, you will see where it was like some members of the families were also saying it did not happen.
So
just like what Simon was saying, they were told to deny it.
Yes. But the truth of the point I'm trying to make is that, like Simon Reef said, but like I said, it was a messy situation that the security people find themselves, and that has been settled now. I think going forward, we'll learn from it. But I am not aware. And the police keeps on. Like some names report yesterday. But the question you should ask yourself is, how is it possible for kidnappers to kidnap almost about 117 people? How is it possible? And I've just been told that the communities is very close to the forest. Close to the forest. So which means that it was easier for such criminals to carry out their criminal activities, Let me tell you something. There are some communities in this country, because of the terrain, where you don't have presence of security in those communities. So criminals can come to that communities, take time. Sometimes they will cook for themselves, carry out their criminal activities before they even leave, and before you could even allow the security. Even before you allow security, before they get there, it will take them almost about 3 or 4 hours before they get to that community. So, and that is the situation we find ourselves in Nigeria. But let us be very careful here. Over the years, if you've seen the patterns, especially when the election is coming up, kidnapping, insecurity has been weaponized by politicians as a means of attracting sympathy to themselves during an election. It happened during Jonathan. In fact, that was a campaign strategy for the opposition at that particular point in time. They created insecurity situations in Nigeria, and that became a campaign issue for them. And at the end of the day, Jonathan was described as clueless. The guy is too kind, the guy is incompetent to tackle the issue of insecurity. We need an ex-general who can come, and within 6 months, the issue of insecurity will be wiped out in the country. So they capitalized on that. And at the end of it, the Jonathan was forced out of power. A general came, an ex-general came. For 8 years, the whole thing, became...
It wasn't.
Even more problematic. For 8 years, the issue of insecurity became so high, so pronounced, so much so that people were now wondering why there was need for them to recruit an ex-general to be head of state. Now, in the last 2 years, we've seen that pattern. The oppositions are also campaigning for election in 2027. And it appears that the same people who weaponized insecurity at that time are it again. But we need to be very careful. We, first of all, need to have a Nigeria before we start talking about grabbing power. Because if you destroy the country, which country are you going to govern? And that is the situation we find ourselves. And that is why we keep on moving back. That's why we're not progressing in terms of economic, in terms of infrastructure. The money you would have used, to develop education, develop health sectors, develop infrastructures across the countries are being channeled towards managing insecurity in our country. So at the end of the day, it is the country that is worse for it, not you and I. It's this country, you and I. The level of poverty in Nigeria today is so high because the money that would have been used to tackle those issues are being channeled in buying arms and ammunition for war against terrorists and criminals across the country.
And
so that is not
yes. And the reputation management, they are talking about managing the reputation of the country.
Exactly.
Isn't this one of the things that are also...
What was saying about our country? What was saying about our country?
People say that something happens, there's denial, and they're not able to rescue those people.
So the point I'm also making is that You know, so it would be unfair to now begin to say, oh, the security people are not doing anything. Security people are trying their best. Right. Just about a few days ago, some security, some soldiers, some police were killed in Zamfara or in an attempt to deal with the issue of insecurity. And they are human beings too. They have families, they have children, they have mother, they have dads, you know. So it's a complex, I keep on saying that it is a complex situation that we find ourselves in Nigeria, and that we need to sit down and ask ourselves, do we need a country before we grab power?
Okay. But what is important now is to rescue the people that have been kidnapped. Because
yes. I'm sure the security agencies will be working.
All right.
So I just want to add to what Kule said. Has kidnapping been an acceptable norm in the Nigerian context? I think that was what you were trying to say.
I was asking a question.
Yes, you were asking that question. Yes, emphatically. Because as it is, kidnapping, insecurity, is embedded in the politics of this country. And there's nothing on ground for now to show us that that would stop.
Okay. We've spent so much time talking about this particular issue. Let's move on to something else. Let's look at the story on the front page of the Daily Asset, which is the paper I'm holding right now. And it says, at Davos, FG unveils new economic focus, pledges less borrowing. And from the riders, reforms target long-term fiscal stability. Edum, IMF projects stronger economy. Yobosa, how do you read this?
Well, that is from the perspective from the federal government, talking about the effort they've been making to ensure that the change in narrative as far as the economic situation in our country is concerned. Yes, there should be a policy, you know, where we can, you know, de-emphasize borrowing. Like I keep on saying, or I agree with some experts that there's nothing wrong with borrowing money. But the truth of the matter is that with the way we are going, we were told the other day that if care is not taken, we'll be spending almost about 85% of our earning in servicing our external loan if between now and in the next 2 years. And for me, that calls for a serious concern. So what do we do? What do we do to ensure that, you know, we don't keep on borrowing, and the way we are utilizing this borrowing, we don't get to see it. We don't see a concrete evidence of what the money is being borrowing for. I think that is the situation we find ourselves. So my point is that if we are able to block so many leakages that we have in our system, in our institutions, we're able to block that, and we're able to, you know, ensure that the tax we are generating is well used for the benefit of the country, I'm sure the federal government would de-emphasize borrowing. But if we must borrow to grow the economy. If we must borrow to create more jobs, so that by the time we are paying back, it will be a huge burden on the part of the federal government. I think that's exactly what the federal government is talking about, you know. So we must change the narrative. There must be transparency and accountability in the way we utilize public funds, because we are seeing what is happening now. During the Buhari regime, we recover so much loot from Abacha. Let's say Abacha's, the money Abacha's siphoned from the country. We recover a huge amount of money from that. And people say, oh, we're going to use that money to repair Abuja-Kaduna Kanu Express, or we're going to use the money to build so many infrastructure, to build hospitals, to grow the education. But at the end of the day, we are seeing now that huge part of that money went into a private pocket. And Malami, who was at the center of that deal, you know, when he was busy recruiting consultants, you know, to help negotiate, at the end of the day, they pay almost about 30–40% of that money to consultants, and we can see where that money went into, you know, from the way, from the FCC investigation recently. So part of the problem we have in this country is corruption. We borrowed, and part of that money will go into a private pocket of some political elite or some civil servant. And that shouldn't have been the case. We saw the case of former Attorney General, where almost billions of naira were linked to his account. like General of the Federation, was linked to his account. A civil servant, salary is not up to about 500,000 naira at the end of the month. So where did he go? Well, I mean, where did he get such huge amount of money that he diverted to his private pocket? So the point I'm making is that if the government is serious about this economic focus, you know, then we must block so many leakages that we have in our country. And the citizens must be in a position to also track the implementations of these economic policies that we are talking about. So that at the end of the day, it's not just about rhetoric, it's not just about stories, it's not about, you know, playing politics with the policies of this country. You know, we deserve to know the right thing, the right information, so that at the end of the day, citizens can be part of, you know, monitoring what is happening, and they can also make their own input. I agree with the federal government. There's need for us to change the narrative. There's need for us to focus on, you know, building our economy so that we de-emphasize borrowing for the benefit of this country.
Yes, indeed. You want to comment on that, or we move on?
No, what I want to comment is just to add more information to what you're saying. I think is look at the government, and what they need to do is to be very, very sincere. Sincerity is key. If you bring the president of the United States in Nigeria, he will fail because the system will swing against him. If you take the most corrupt man
we will not bring Donald Trump to
No. If you not take the most corrupt man in Nigeria to go to the US, he must succeed because there are systems to guide. Somebody say, hey, you can do this. I just tell you something that happened yesterday. I took somebody that I know to go and get a police extra in the police station. When he arrived, was asked he should give 5,000 naira, not in the city center. The person said, why should I give 5,000 naira? No, it's 2,000. They said, no. So the person told me, they are asking for 5,000 naira. I said, okay, let's go to the city center. Maybe we will get it cheaper. We went to the police station at one of the city center, went there, and asked. He said, no, you have to pay 10,000 naira. What I'm saying is that outside, beyond leadership, beyond those in governance, the citizens themselves have formed a habit of helping themselves. So wherever you are, try as much as possible to help yourself. Because if you don't help yourself, nobody will come and help you. So because of the corruption in the system, I was some Nigerians, they hear all these economic deals, or this is on paper. What is the living standard of the people? That's the question. What's their welfare?
Okay, let's go to a bit of politics before we go. The Daily Monitor, 2027 ADC will bleed after Atiku secures party's ticket. This is according to Baba Ahmed. It says Obi's political style does not align with competitive party primaries. Then you link it with the story on the Authority newspaper where Obi says attack on him. Atiku says attack on him and Obi is aiding APC. So let's see how we can discuss the two stories together before we wrap up.
I agree with the author of that statement, Baba Ahmed, because from the way things are, the ADC today is structured, is being organized purposely for Atiku's presidential candidate. Take it or you leave it. That is
are you a member of the ADC?
I'm not a member of the ADC. But I'm telling you that if they conduct a primary today, I'm not saying that Atiku is more popular than Obi, but because the primary will be conducted by the ADC structure. But I'm telling you today, if they conduct the primaries today, Atiku will win that primaries against Peter Obi. But that, like I said, it's not enough to say that, Atiku is more popular than Obi. But I must tell you, the reason why there is so much, energy displayed within the ADC today is because of the recent membership of Peter Obi. But I can tell you that immediately the primaries is conducted and Atiku grabbed that presidential ticket, there will be implosions within the ADC. And that's my fear. I keep on saying that whether we like it or not, the country, where some people might say, it's a political affair, it's party affair, but the mood of the country today does not support a northerner, taking over the presidency of this country after 4 years of a southerner. Because we've seen that 8 years of the north. And the general consensus, the near political arrangement in this country is that there must be rotation between the north and south, and that has not changed. I'm not saying there's a constitutional provision for that, but that is a gentleman agreement. So, as I speak to you, the mood of the country today, especially the southerner, does not favor a northerner grabbing the ticket of the ADC. If they do that, there will be implosion within the ADC. Even if Obi remains after the primaries, his huge supporters will definitely leave ADC. So, in other words, those, I must say here confidently, those who are pushing for Atiku's presidential candidate are indirectly helping the APC, the ruling party. And I can tell you that's exactly what will happen. And they need to be very careful. If they are serious in grabbing power from the ADC, they must organize themselves in such a way that they don't indirectly support the APCs in remaining in power after 2027.
Okay, a quick comment from you, Simon, because we have to go now.
Yeah, like my colleague rightly said, if Atiku gets it, there will be a problem. If Peter Obi gets it, there will be a catastrophe because the party will collapse. Because what Atiku Baba Ahmed said is the politics of Obi does not align with what he needs to do.
They say with competitive primary. What does that even mean?
Competitive primary is fine. What was the of competitive primary is for you to get through the delegates and play the politics according to the game.
So Obi doesn't have that political
He does
style.
not have that.
You agree with that?
I agree with that completely.
Well, that's a subjective opinion.
Atiku, no, it could be my subjective, but Atiku is the man on ground. He is in charge of the party structure, just as my friend said that today. Yeah, if you do any primary election today, Atiku gets it. And when he gets it, that will be when the problem of ADC will start. Because the huge supporters of Obi, who are mostly online, and they have really...
They are not online, they are everywhere.
They are mostly online as far as I am
they are the huge supporters.
I'm concerned.
Yes.
They will say, no. And that's why they've even told the man, say, hey, if Obi does not get the presidential ticket, we are not going to support him as a running mate to Atiku. I think that is where the problem lies.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, we thank you very much for your time this morning. It's been a very interesting conversation here. And I need you to go check the responses from our viewers on our YouTube channel. We'll try and take some of those comments in the course of the program, but some very interesting comments have come in, which I may not be able to read now because we really must move on very fast. But thank you very much, Dr. Yobosa, Uwogiaren, and Simon Reef Musa for joining us this morning on the Newspaper Review. All right, we'll move on now to something else now, of course, a precursor